All right, this is the big pain on this thing. So as you can see, I'm tightening up the hydraulic fluid line that goes to our slave cylinder. Now, I'm going to show you in just a moment here what's going on. So if you get in there and you look, you see that 12 millimeter nut. It's like a brake line nut. It's got a double flare on this line, the stainless steel line, and it goes into your slave cylinder. Now let me tell you, I actually got that started after about, I think, 2 days. I actually got this thing started. I called Silver Sport and I said, as you can see, I can't get my hands in there to start that. Now, I made the assumption, this is our factory Ford bell housing. So I called Silver Sport and I said, hey, how in the hell are you guys getting this nut started on the slave cylinder after the transmission? Because obviously you have the slave cylinder with the spacers have to come in with the transmission. He said, oh yeah, you're supposed to get it started, have it inside the transmission, started in there, and then you slide the transmission in. So you have this floating around inside, and you can get your hands in from the front, from that hole. So, you know, that'd really been nice to know before I put the transmission in. It'd really been nice to know. So for all you guys that are doing a Ford with a factory bell housing on a TKX, make sure you start that before. I got lucky and I had to go get a 12, you're gonna have to use a crow's foot. This is a 12 millimeter crow's foot, and I bought the tubing line, like the brake line wrenches. I have standard, but I did not have metric. So praying this tightens down and we can go ahead and get ready to get this clutch going. But just so you guys know, this thing, do not wait till you did like I did. On our Charger, we had a bell housing that came with the transmission because it went from an automatic to a standard. This is more of a Ford setup anyway, so there's no reason for Barry to buy an aftermarket bell housing. But it would have been nice to know. Silver Sport would have told me that. So we're going to get this thing tightened down, and then we're going to start bleeding the clutch. Okay, so now this comes with the TKX from Silver Sport. It's basically a brake fluid, obviously, for a hydraulic clutch. It uses the same thing that your brake system uses. But let's hope that we don't have any leaks at the slave cylinder. I've got the bleeder open on the line. So I've taken there's a bladder. Here's your bladder right here. Once we get some fluid down in there into the slave cylinder, letting it bleed down in there, then we'll slow a roll, not put very much in there, because it doesn't take much in this little bitty reservoir. And biggest thing is no leaks, just like a brake system. Pump the clutch just like you would on a brake system and hold, and I'm going to do the bleeder, and you'll see that in a moment. Right now, and it's raining raining brake fluid. Awesome. So if you come over here and look, she's leaking like a sieve. So guess what? Those threads are probably cross-threaded. So guess what I get to do? I'm going to pull this transmission all the way back out and put another slave cylinder in this thing. So I'm kind of pissed off. This is my fault, but Silver Sport never told me to put the damn line in, start everything before you start the transmission if you're using a factory bell housing. If you buy one of their bell housings, obviously the window's big enough where you can get your hand in there and start it. But yeah, so this is all gonna come back out, and I'm gonna have to figure out how to get the damn thing on. Excuse my French, but I'm perturbed. That they could do better. This is where I love Silver Sport. Customer service has been great, but this is an area of improvement. I'm not happy about this. So I got to take all this back out and order a new slave cylinder and figure it out. I mean, this is ridiculous. It shouldn't be that complicated. You know, anytime you have a brake line and with a stainless steel line, it's going to try its best to cross thread, get on the side. That's just what they do. So I should have known better than to start it with a long wrench from an angle it was going in fine. I mean, it did not feel like it was cross-threaded at all. I used a little bitty short wrench just to make sure. Obviously, I couldn't get my fingers in there to start it because I'm not ET and I don't have fingers this long. I don't have a Keebler Elf here to get up in there either. But you can tell I'm a little frustrated. But I just want to share this to everybody. Anybody's putting one of these transmissions in, you better make sure that you put that damn hydraulic line on outside before you put so you're gonna have to hang it in there before you put it on the transmission. By the way, we've got 3 spacers we're trying to keep on a pin to keep that measurement for the hydraulic clutch. So you're gonna be juggling. So I had to juggle that just doing it with it hung on the pin. Now I gotta really juggle it because I've gotta, after I hang this in there, there's an alignment pin that's on the transmission, as you saw when I was taking the measurements. So you gotta sit there and juggle this thing while you got this thing on a transmission jack and sit there and hope God you hit that pin, the alignment pin for this right here. So I just thought I'd share. That's where we're at. So please like, share, and subscribe. I could use it. Thanks, everybody. Okay, we got our transmission back out. And here's our slave cylinder. And sure enough, these bad boys are stripped bigger than crap. I don't know if you can see it, but when this thing went in, I was using, like I said, my wrench to try to start this thing from this little window into that slave cylinder. And when you do that, you have to get around it and just barely try to start it. I was trying to save from having to pull all this back out, but I shouldn't have done that. This is all on me. So I'm not making excuses, but it'd been nice if the instruction said if you're not using a Silver Sport bell housing, I'm making the assumption, gotta remember, this has got to line up with this pin. And it's got to go right here, right there, okay? You gotta remember, we also, because of this plate here, we had to order an additional spacer because you've got to get in that range, the range of how far this wants to compress in or out. And we hit that. We're good. But I had to wait on getting this spacer. Well, just like I did on my Charger, put it on right here. Of course, I only had, I think, 1 spacer on it, and it went right in because I had enough room in the bell housing to get my fingers in there and tighten it up. No big deal at all. But had they told me, I'm making the assumption they want me to take the hydraulic line, I guess, make sure I have enough slack, and of course I'm gonna have to make sure I have enough slack to get the new one. Yeah, there we go. So pull this through, start it like this here, so you know it's not cross-threaded like I just did, and then I'm making the assumption that it's going to be sitting here while I get ready to slide it over the input shaft, and then I'm going to be fighting the line. This is a stainless steel line, right? As you can see all that right there. So I'm going to have to fight that to make sure when this transmission gets up to I line that little hole up with that pin. There's some juggling here. This one's a little more, there's just got less room in this car than you do a bigger car. Let's just say that. But we're gonna get it fixed. I'm gonna order a new slave cylinder. I'm ordering it. My customer's not paying for it. I'm the one that boogered it up. He's not. This has nothing to do with him. So anyway, yeah, just want to let everybody know, and you Mustang guys that are using a factory bell housing on a TKX, learn from my mistake. I'm sure a lot of you guys out there are smarter than me. You would have figured that out. Said I would have done that in the first place. Hey, I get it. But again, it'd been nice. Silver Sport is very good on everything else, saying don't do this because, make sure you do this. If you don't, they're very good on that. So I think I'm gonna just kind of, when I order this new one, I'm gonna say just some constructive criticism because I like those guys. They're great. Just, you may want to put in your instructions if you're doing this to make sure you thread this before you stab the transmission. So we're gonna get it back in there. Everything else, we had everything else going so smooth. We thought we were about to get the transmission, get all the dimensions for the drive shaft, bleed the clutch, and then we were possibly going to be driving this thing possibly by next weekend. But yeah, gotta get a slave cylinder. So anyway, yeah, just thought I'd share. Hope everybody has a good weekend. I gotta get on some other projects. So please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks, everybody.